Call this business meeting of the James City County Board of Supervisors to order. Good afternoon. Mr. Stevens, if you'll please call the roll.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Null?
Present.
Mr. Hippel?
Here.
Mr. McGlennon?
Here.
Mr. Eisenhower?
Here.
Ms. Larson?
Here.
All present.
I need a motion to amend the agenda to add a severe weather preparedness presentation under board discussions.
So moved.
Thank you. Mr. Stevens?
Ms. Null?
Aye.
Mr. Hippel?
Aye.
Mr. McGlennon?
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower? Ms. Larson?
Aye.
Motion carries.
That brings us to a retirement commendation for service for Cheryl Waldren. And I believe that we are going to have Ms. Boone come down. I'll meet you down there.
Madam Chair, members of the board, I'm so excited for Cheryl. It's always bittersweet when someone retires, but, you know, we've enjoyed having her for 26 years. So Cheryl started employment with James City County in 1998. She began her career in development management as a development management assistant, where she assisted the development community navigate through our many processes. She also participated in a special assignment for the county attorney's office, where she gained a wealth of knowledge and provided much needed support to the office. With Cheryl's knowledge and experience, she decided to change direction and took a position with social services as a benefits program specialist, where she assisted the program participants ensuring they were provided with the proper resources. She realized that she missed working with our development community and found her way back to community development and general services as a stormwater lead engineering assistant. Her final assignment was the Stormwater Sureties Coordinator, where she worked to develop a much-needed sureties tracking process. Not only has Cheryl been an outstanding employee, but has a kind heart and an infectious laugh. One can't help but smile when they hear her laughing down the hall. We wish her the best in her next phase of life, where we know she will be enjoying time with her family and friends and loving on her precious grandbabies. Thank you, Cheryl, for all the hard work and dedication and for making JCC a better place for our residents.
Whereas Cheryl Waldren has served the residents of James City County with distinction for the past 26 years as a valued employee, she has had various roles with James City County and always performed at a high level. She began her career in development management as a development management assistant, then participated in a special assignment for the county attorney's office, worked at social services as a benefit program specialist, as well as in general services as a stormwater lead engineering assistant and stormwater sureties coordinator. And whereas throughout her tenure, Cheryl Waldren has exemplified the highest standards of professionalism, integrity, and commitment to excellence in public service. And whereas Cheryl Waldren's institutional knowledge, commitment to exceptional customer service, and tireless work ethic have contributed immensely to the effective operation and success of the departments noted above. And whereas Cheryl Waldren has mentored and trained countless colleagues, serving as an inspiration and role model for others in public service, and Cheryl's positive attitude, caring nature, and wonderful sense of humor have brightened the workplace and uplifted those around her. And whereas Cheryl Waldren's retirement on June 28, 2024 is a profound loss for James City County as we bid farewell to one of our most dedicated and esteemed public servants. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Chair of the Board of Supervisors, on behalf of the residents of James City County, do hereby extend our deepest gratitude to Cheryl Waldren for her decades of exceptional service and commitment to our community. We wish her an enjoyable, fulfilling, and well-deserved retirement, and witness whereof I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the County of James City, Virginia, to be affixed this 23rd day of July, 2024. Congratulations.
I would truly say it has been a privilege and an honor to serve the residents as well as the Board of Supervisors with James City County. Ironically, when I was going for my master's degree, my thesis was on the stormwater. And lo and behold, that's where I ended up before retirement was in the Stormwater Division. I have worked with the best, and I do mean the best, coworkers I ever have in all my 10 years of working, and I've been truly blessed, not only coworkers, but their family. And we have been there for each other. We have stuck by each other through thick and thin. And James City County is truly very honored. It has been 26 years that I'll never forget. I could truly say that I was blessed that when I came to work, I was happy to be at work. And a lot of people cannot say that about their employment. Again, I thank you for this award, and I thank you to all of the citizens of James City County, as well as my coworkers. Thank you.
We will get a picture, and then anybody that's here to support you, come on down for a picture.
Oh, I thought we were going two different.
Yeah.
Next, we're going to move to the proclamation on National Night Out on August 6th, 2024, and I will go down to the podium to do that, but I will take just a moment to say that we had a very serious incident here in James City County involving several of our police officers, and we were very fortunate in that we did not have any officers that were seriously injured, but it could have gone a very different way. And so there are several officers in the audience today, and just take a moment to thank you on behalf of the board for everything that you do every day. We are so appreciative that you put it on the line, and I hope that citizens will take advantage of an opportunity like National Night Out to come out and meet our wonderful officers for James City County. It gives you an opportunity to meet them in a different type of atmosphere, and it's a great opportunity to bring neighborhood and law enforcement together. And so I hope that people will take advantage of this, and I will come downstairs and do this. You might need it. I always like seeing Officer McDowell. He tried to retire, but that just didn't happen. So, Proclamation National Night Out, August 6, 2024. Whereas for the 41st year, the National Association of Town Watch sponsors a national community building campaign on Tuesday, August 6, 2024, entitled National Night Out. And whereas the National Night Out campaign provides an opportunity for neighbors in James City County to join thousands of communities from all 50 states, U.S. territories, and military bases worldwide. And whereas National Night Out is an annual community building campaign that promotes strong police community partnerships and neighborhood camaraderie to make our neighborhoods safer, more caring, and places to live and work. And whereas neighbors in James City County assist the James City County Police Department through joint community building efforts and support National Night Out 2024. And whereas it is essential that all neighbors of James City County come together with police and work together to build a safer, more caring community. And now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Board of Supervisors of James City County, do hereby call upon all citizens of James City County to join the James City County Police Department and National Association of Town Watch in support for National Night Out on Tuesday, August 6, 2024. Be it further resolved that we, the Board of Supervisors of James City County, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, August 6, 2024 as National Night Out in James City County. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the County of James City, Virginia, to be affixed this 23rd day of July 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. It's always a special night, National Night Out, when we go into our communities and really continue to build on those relationships and friendships. Because as I tell people when I talk to them at events or just in normal conversation, it takes all of us to really provide a safe and vibrant community. And I think we have that here in James City County, but we want to also keep that. I'd also like to recognize the staff we have here today, Sergeant Kirk Dykstra, who is our sergeant over our community service unit, and Alan McDowell, who was retired lieutenant, who wanted to come back and offer some support in a part-time role, also working for this program. So thank you both for being here, and thank you again for your support. Appreciate it.
Let's get a picture. Chief coming.
No, he's coming.
Sorry, I should have. Okay, that brings us to the consent calendar. Tonight's consent calendar consists of the following: contract award $307,145, Collington Court stream restoration; grant award $74,240, Burn Justice Assistant Grant Program; law enforcement equipment grant; grant award $15,840, Coastal Reliance and Trees Fund; grant award $41,030, Commonwealth's Attorney, Virginia Domestic Violence Victim Fund; grant award $12,500, Fatherhood Incentive Funds; 6 minutes adoption; 7 official intent to reimburse expenditures with proceeds from a borrowing; participation in proposed settlement of opioid-related claims against Kroger; purchase on an existing contract underground fiber optic cable installation, Cable Associates Inc., and 10, purchase of property located at 110 Nina Lane. Does anyone wish to pull an item? All right, may I have a motion for approval?
Motion for approval?
Thank you. Mr. Stevens?
Ms. Knoll?
Aye.
Mr. Hippel?
Aye.
Mr. McGlinnan?
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower? Aye. Ms. Larson?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, and thank you to so many that came out regarding their grants this evening. Appreciate it. That brings us to board discussions. Our first discussion is James City County Housing Portal, website, and mobile app. I believe Paul Holt will introduce.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
15.
Madam Chair, members of the board, you may recall back in, way back in 2019, we had a workforce housing task force that really studied the issue and made a substantial number of recommendations for the way that the county could, both in the work that it does and in partnership with the development community, could increase chances and opportunities for folks to find affordable and workforce-priced housing in James City County. We've worked on a number of issues since that time. I'm here today along with Barb Watson and Patrick Page to introduce another accomplishment that we've been able to do based on one of those recommendations. The task force at the time had recommended that we work with the Hampton Roads Regional Planning District group to create a housing resource portal. It's an existing resource center to serve the region and would really help to coordinate resources available and to help promote affordable and workforce priced housing through marketing. It's going to, after all of that, would help increase opportunities for working households in the county to help them find appropriate and affordable housing in the community. We started that effort. The regional planning group wasn't quite ready for us, but we knew we had a great opportunity to provide another invaluable resource to the citizens of James City County. So our three departments worked together, and I'd like to bring up to the podium to really kind of go through this Vaughn Pauler from the Neighborhood Development Division of Community Development, Tina Kalana from Information Resources Management, and Tierra Murphy from the Housing Unit of Social Services.
I had to make sure they came up with me. Madam Chair, members of the board, it's a pleasure to address you this afternoon. You may recall the board accepted the recommendations of the Workforce Housing Task Force in 2019, as Mr. Holt said. I'm happy to inform you that another recommendation has been accomplished. Ms. Tina Kalana from Publications Management and Ms. Tierra Murphy from the Housing Office will review with you the James City County Housing Portal and the accompanying JCC Housing app. The portal is envisioned as providing 24-hour, one-stop shopping for citizens seeking housing assistance. It is structured so to provide greater outreach to citizens while better organizing requests for services from the housing offices. In that capacity, it serves as both a resource and a tool. It is our hope that other localities will be encouraged to use our example and make it possible to engage with citizens on a regional basis under a common interface. Ms. Kalana and Ms. Murphy will discuss the process of development and demonstrate the portal.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the board. I'm going to talk about the process. So as both Mr. Holt and Mr. Pauler said, this has been on the table for quite some time. So in early June 2023, staff from all three of our departments plus purchasing got together to form an internal group to talk about the goals of this project and what the outcome we wanted would be. And an RFI was issued in July of last year. Information was received from 9 different companies, and we scheduled and went through demos from 4 of those companies. At the end, the group ultimately decided that Civic Plus would be the platform that best met our needs. As they are already a trusted partner with the county, staff would need minimal training on the platform, and they're just a really, really good company to work with. The contract with Civic was signed by purchasing in late October 2023, and the internal staff started meeting with Civic. We had multiple meetings to go over things like what kind of deliverables, meaning content, photos, and items like that they needed. We talked about the layout, the design, what we really wanted to see. From there, Civic took it and gave us a proposed look. And we changed a few things and told them what we liked, what we didn't like. Over the course of the next 6.5 months, staff had we had multiple meetings. We also put a couple of staff, including Ms. Murphy, through training with Civic. So she will be able to update pages on the housing portal and then submit them to the web team for approval and posting. The new housing website launched on May 23rd of this year. So from November to May, we worked a lot on the website. And the mobile app went live in both the Apple and Google stores on June 18th of this year. So that is the timeline of the project. And now I will turn it over to Yara so she can walk through the website.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So I'll be providing a quick overview of our new housing portal. You can access the portal by visiting jccvahousing.gov. It has been designed with a user-friendly interface, ensuring that even those who are not tech-savvy will find it easy to navigate. Key features of the portal include the ability to apply for housing assistance programs, view available housing units and upcoming developments, and access various resources provided by social services and community partners. We also offer a mobile app available for download in the Apple App Store and Google Play by searching for James City County VA Housing This app mirrors the portal's functionality, allowing users to submit applications and access resources on the go, making it easier to manage housing needs from anywhere. The portal offers significant benefits for most efficiency. It reduces the need for in-person office visits and speeds up service delivery. More importantly, it ensures that housing services and resources are accessible anytime, anywhere, which is especially valuable for individuals with disabilities or other hardships that may prevent them from visiting our housing office. Since the portal's launch, we've seen over 1,000 users, primarily searching for information about available programs, resources, and properties. This pattern highlights the most important areas for us to focus on. By improving these key areas, we enhance user satisfaction and engagement. Thank you for your attention, and I would encourage everyone to explore the use of the mobile app and website.
Questions? Well, first, let me just say that's incredible, 1,000 users already. So it shows a much needed resource, and particularly like what you said regarding people who might have mobility issues or transportation issues, giving them a way to stay connected. So are there other comments, questions?
I guess I just had a question about whether we have any sense of the sort of success rate in terms of people using the tool to be able to actually find a place to rent or buy.
Not as of yet. However, users do utilize the apartment listing that we offer via the website.
It would be interesting, I don't mean to have you provide this to us today, but just to know the number of available units that are out there at a given time.
I do not have a number that I can provide today. I'll be happy
Right.
to email you the information.
Okay, thanks.
No problem.
Other questions? Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Great job. I just saw a Daily Press headline this morning about a survey that was done about young people leaving Hampton Roads.
Yes.
And one of the reasons was housing resources.
It was the
So-
focus of the HRPDC meeting this past week. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So with that, that brings us to Parks and Recreation, CIP. Alistair Perkinson, how are you?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam
Good
Chair, members of
afternoon.
the board. I'm back today as a follow-up to our discussion at last month's business meeting regarding the Parks and Recreation Capital Improvement Program. So what I'm going to do is just a quick recap of where we are, some of our recommendations of some of what we feel might be our more short-term needs, and then some other items for discussion at the end. So just as a recap, these are the current projects that we have funded through FY24. So we have our design for the War Hill baseball softball complex, design money for the Chickahominy paddlecraft and rowing area, some remaining funds from a pool concession project at Chickahominy Riverfront Park, funding for acquisition of a park in the lower part of the county, funding for the construction of a multi-use trail at Upper County Park, design funds for the Upper County Park splash pad, and that is the project where we don't currently have the construction funds in our 5-year CIP. Design funds for a project at Veterans Park that would include a splash pad, parking, and utilities, and funds in various accounts for the remainder of the James City County Marina projects. Our 5-year CIP currently looks like this. In FY25, we have that Veterans Park project. As I mentioned last month, that is about $1 million less than the initial request. So at this time, it would just include a small expansion of the parking and utilities there. So we got together and looked at some of these projects and where we felt like the most immediate needs fell versus some things that we really want to do but maybe aren't quite as urgent as some others. And we have the following recommendations. First, as we discussed, of looking at the priorities for all these projects. We have so many projects through the next 5 years, the next 10 years. This fall, we're going to begin our Parks and Rec Department Master Plan process, which will be an opportunity not only for us to look at all the equity mapping and figure out where our needs are, but also to engage with the public on a variety of different levels through public meetings, surveys, in regards to these CIP projects, along with all of our other goals and objectives for the department. In the short term, we identified kind of two projects we felt like were a little higher priority at the moment, and that was the restrooms, parking, and stormwater for the Chickahominy Riverfront Park, rowing area and paddlecraft area. It's something that we really need. We have a local boat club that would like to fund their own boathouse in that area, but we can't move forward with any of it until we have adequate restrooms down there. And the other part is to begin designing the skate park. We know that the skate park as it exists now, our plan is to move that skate park to the War Hill Sports Complex, but we do feel like it would be advantageous to start that design now and start engaging with the citizens that use that park so that we have a plan in place when we get to that point. So our game plan at the moment, our recommendation is to take that Veterans Park project. As I mentioned, it was only about half of the initial request, and put that out a little further and focus on these other two projects this year. And so to kind of visually show that, it would be to move that paddlecraft area and skate park design, use those funds from Veterans Park now for those projects, and move that Veterans Park out a little further in the CIP, currently FY27, but it's something that as we submit our upcoming 5-year, we could find the most appropriate place for that project. And it's almost an exact balance. There's a little bit, if we needed a little bit more for that skate park design, there is, we could use some from another project, but it was a pretty even swap there. So that was our first kind of short-term recommendation, but long-term is to really look at that Parks and Rec Department master plan and all of these projects and engage with the public and really kind of reprioritize them. Next up, we had just a couple other items that we wanted to bring to the board. Yes,
Can
sir.
I take you back to that last slide and just make sure for the board's perspective,
Mhm.
you have funded this in 25. That's approved, that $1 million. Are there concerns with us making the changes that Alistair was recommending?
I like them. I think it'd be a good thing.
Okay, we just
I'm
didn't
for
want to do that without, those projects in 26 and beyond aren't funded, but if you're okay with that, we will take that action and bring it back if there's action necessary to the board. We just didn't want to get ahead of you. And I do think we've had some conversation that makes sense, and we'll have more opportunity to discuss Parks and Rec CIP in the future. We just didn't want to get ahead of you on those two changes or those three suggested
I like that
changes.
we're moving forward on the skate park as well ahead of time. We know it's going to be changed. We know it's used a lot and needs to be adjusted for the future and that sort of thing. So, and as a gentleman spoke at our last meeting, and they're doing so much for the community and all connected with the state park, or it's skate park, not state park, skate park, and everything they're doing there to help our community. I'm glad to see that's being moved up as well as the paddlecraft area and the bathrooms and all that we need down there. Good job, thank you.
I would, since we're on this spreadsheet here, I would just say that you won't come as a surprise to you that I would like to see the Lower County Park funding advanced. We've been waiting an awfully long time to get that underway, and a lot of it has to do with the acquisition of property. But I think people have heard about that for an awfully long time and not really gotten the opportunity to see concrete plans and a more realistic, a more immediate kind of movement on the construction of a facility.
Right, and Mr. McGlennon, I think from a staff standpoint, we've had it funded previously with the RPA funding, and because of the timelines, we moved that to a different project. We have felt it's important to keep it visible in that 5-year CIP, and I think as we finalize the location, which has been an ongoing challenge, as you know, for a couple of years, as that gets finalized, I think we would have some conversation about where that might fit back in. My only comment about the timing of it happens to be with all the other CIP projects, this happens to be a schedule that our finance staff believes we can support, either through pay-as-you-go revenues or financing. It's not to say they can't shift forward, but if we shift it forward, then borrowing either increases or something else shifts out. And that's a conversation as we're assembling the CIP, I think this fall. Hopefully we'll have some verification of where we are maybe property-wise, because I think we are making some progress there in the Grove area for a park site, and we'll have the board involvement in all the projects, not just Parks and Rec, trying to help us make sure we have them in the right place for you. And so,
Right, and I understand the challenges here, but I
Yes,
do
sir.
want to keep being a squeaky wheel.
and I want to share, we're aware of that and don't want it to get lost either. So it's an important project for staff as well to keep that in the forefront and moving forward.
Right.
The only other project, and Alistair, you have to help me with a number. We have $1 million for design of your War Hill baseball, softball complex.
Yes.
But funding wise, while the design money was approved, I think in '24, we moved the construction out to '28 or '29, and that really was a funding issue. And so that's something we could talk more about. There is a lot of pressure in terms of need and request, and I think it is a facility that the community would really use today if it were there. And whether 4 or 5 years out is the right place, we're not starting design yet, but we do have money set aside, correct?
Correct.
So it's there to design it, but we don't want to design it 4 years ahead of building it. And so that's something we would talk with you more about, I think, this fall as we're putting together the CIP project or process or priorities for the next fiscal year budget.
And I've gotten some calls on that as well, as far as how come it's being pushed out so far, just like all the,
Just the
and-
funding plan
Yeah.
for it, but that is something we can talk more about, how to accelerate it, or what do we change with it and put something in front of it if that's the priority.
And just some other items that we wanted to present to you all for additional discussion, two really. The first being the War Hill Sports Complex. So as part of the special use permit for that park, really the next addition to that park is going to trigger improvements to the intersection at Long Hill Road. And really they're needed there, the stoplight at Long Hill Road at the entrance. I believe we're already working on some design for that, but it is a number to keep in mind. It was built into the softball baseball complex, but it's my understanding that the general services building or even the skate park, any of those items, once they're built at a War Hill, would trigger these improvements. And that's about $3 million. So we wanted to put that out there on the radar. And the other was potentially helping to expand the locker rooms at the swim facility, the 757 swim facility at the War Hill Sports Complex. That was another number, something that we had discussed. There's a benefit there for our local high school swim teams and that use that facility. So it was another one that I wanted to put on the discussion. So.
And I know with the locker room expansion, Ms. Larson's been approached a number of times. I know John Carnifax has had a lot of conversation. The locker rooms that are there just are not adequate. They don't function terribly well, and they're not large enough to support the activities in the building. We have not participated financially in that complex before. Am I accurate in saying that? We have not participated, and so we've been asked. We do have agreements that allow the high school swim teams to practice there. There is at least some indication. We don't currently have a agreement for meets there, but we have pushed to have some time there if we were to put any more money into it. What's the public benefit and why would we do it? At least that is for me. I want to make sure we're getting some public benefit back. And so we would have some more access, or at least that's what we've told them, that if we did any more, we would expect to have something beyond the current lease, which allows high school swimming and some use by public safety and some public swimming today. We would want to be able to expand upon those things if we did it. And so I at least wanted to let you know that request was out there, let you contemplate whether we should be involved or shouldn't. If you need a month or two to think about it, I think that's fine. They're $1 million to $1.5 million. They've been asking for several months and a little more this spring. And for us, or at least for me, I don't think it would be part of our budgeting necessary in terms of our CIP. I think it would be an agreement with them to build the structure, us to provide some funding, but we get more public use of it if we were to participate. So if you have questions today or into the next month or so, we'd just like to have those kind of conversations with you so that by September or October, we could give them an answer of yes, we would participate, or no, we would not. And my concern is if you don't participate some, we will be pushed somewhere to do more in terms of swimming because the demand is there. My concern is if you do something here, then you'll have other swim clubs potentially asking for assistance as well. And so it does set us up where if you help with one,
But I
it would
think
be
that
asked or
the
could be.
difference there, when they approached us, was that right now, the high school swim teams that practice there, they are not changing. So in years past, when they would practice, they would change at the facility, go on to school. But because they're not large enough for that to accommodate that, they have to, so they've moved it's earlier so that they can get them out, get them to school. And if you take a school like War Hill that's right there, then you're getting all those teenagers back out on the road. And so that was what when they met with John and I, was they wanted to be able to offer the facility to high school. Right now, as part of their lease agreement with us, high schools don't pay 757 for the practice space. They use, and in such, 757 absorbs the chemical cost, which is a lot during those few months that they've got high school swim in there. So I think that's why they were looking for us to try to help. That's what I got from the conversation anyways. They wanted a way to be able to accommodate the high school teams and not have it so the kids were back out on the road, changing, going to school, and then, the way they looked at it was, hey, we're not helping with chemical costs, so is there a way we could help in with the locker expansion? So I think that covers it. So.
And the only other things I had to mention were just those projects, as Mr. Stevens mentioned, that are on hold. So the War Hill Sports Complex softball, baseball design money is still there, and that's on hold at the moment, with it out at about 5 years. And also our Upper County Park splash pad design. We do intend to ask for that construction back in the 5-year CIP, but that will be on hold until then. Any questions about it? Any of the things that I spoke about?
I was going to ask, I wanted to follow up on Supervisor Hippel's comment that I've received a lot of comments regarding baseball, softball as well. And then splash pads, are they popular?
Yeah. So
They seem to be on the list a lot. So
yeah, they do, and there's a number of benefits to them. For Upper County Park specifically, this will be replacing an old toddler pool. The toddler pool itself has been a challenge to maintain. If you think about it, it's a very small body of water. It gets very warm in the summer. The chemicals feed from all the way over the other side of the pool where the main pump room is. So it's been a challenge over the years to maintain, and it's not a very popular amenity anymore. With a splash pad, you can get kids of all ages, can cool off, can enjoy it, can use that area. You don't have to worry as much about, the little kids being in deep water. The little toddlers can run through it, they can splash. We've also have one at Veterans Park, and if you've driven by Veterans Park in the fall or spring, it is packed. There's a lot of people using Kidsburg. If you drive by there today, there's not many people there. It's very, very hot in the summertime. It's not really a destination, and that would just add another element to that playground to have that water feature, so people could cool off and just have another place to go and cool off in the summertime.
further questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Great report. Appreciate it. That brings us to the Government Center update. We don't have our regular
No, I'm a fill-in
presenter,
today for
so I hope
Mr.
you can do
Reinheimer.
as good a job.
Probably not as good a job, right? But Mr. Reinheimer had a short update today. He really was just going to share that we have continued on the programming phase and the staff group working with our design team. When they talk about programming, it's sort of where do people sit in the building, who's next to who, and square footage that they need. And so they have got a pretty good plan in place there. They are working towards schematic drawing, so we would have something to bring to the board and talk about where at least the first draft of where they see the building layout being. We've got the building down to about 165,000 square feet. That is not by cutting out space that the departments have needed, but where this department had a conference room that was maybe a 20 by 30, and this one had one by 20 by 30. Could they consolidate some of those in terms of usage of those same conference rooms? So the building will have multiple conference rooms, but I'll make up a number which is a little dangerous. If it had 60 before, it's down to 20 or 30 now because of combining that. So that was a big part of the space reduction. along with sort of the open concept workspace that we had talked about, where you have some offices in the core of the building, but more open areas so they all get natural light. More of our employees would be available to the windows and the outsides of the building, and that does reduce at least some square footage for hallways and some other things within the building. We still are talking about a 3-story building. We do have an option of a parking garage on site, and we will bring back some site layouts and some, not renderings, but appearance-wise, so the board has some input on what do you want it to look like, where you show a number of buildings, you go through a process, and do you like this or do you like this? Do you like this or do you like this? For then the design team to go back and bring you some renderings of the buildings that might reflect what the board would want to see in a government center. And so that is what he had here. That time frame is likely late August, early September, that we'd be back in front of you to talk with the architect and our design team about the look of it. And are you okay with the direction, or give them some direction on how to head with the appearance of the building? Any questions or things you'd want to know otherwise yet?
No, you've covered it pretty well. The only thing I caution is to make sure, because we only get one bite of this apple, and make sure we don't make it too small. Make sure that it's a place we can grow into for years to come. And, this is going to be a 50, 60-year building, and it's going to save us in the long run. But it's always, I see it all the time where you sit in these seats and you're worried about the cost and oh my goodness, let's cut this, let's do that. We've got other projects. We never have enough money, never will have enough money. And, and we're always cautious of the citizens' money and make sure we spend it wisely. But, you can easily cut too much and spend the money poorly in the long run. So I just want to caution everybody to make sure that, this is one bite of the apple. We need to, if you're going to be a bear, be a grizzly, and let's get a nice building and a good product out of it. That's all.
Sir. We will make sure that we have addressed that need, and we don't want to build a building that's short-term isn't big enough. So you're right.
Does the size that you indicated take into account the presence of a school administration?
It does not within that 165,000 square feet. I think there are an additional 60,000. There is a place there, at least that's part of the discussion, is how would they incorporate into that same site, and they could be. Our recommendation would be they're a separate building that's connected to the boardroom. The boardroom serves as the conduit between the two, but if the board's desires have us all in one, it would just add a story to build that 60,000 square foot into the same building. So at this point, the square footage does not include school administration, but we are having conversations with them as well.
And I know there was a question about social services and whether Old Town would continue to be.
It does incorporate social services at this point. They are incorporated into the 165,000 square feet. That would leave, the Old Town would not move with us. It would just be the social service need.
Right.
And that would leave the current human services building for us to decide what to do with that. Do we retain it? Do we use it for another governmental purpose? Or do we sell it or some other beneficial use?
Thank you.
And just my 2 cents on that as well. I would see it as another floor rather than a separate building, because a separate building comes with separate maintenance, separate issues, separate problems. And it's all under one roof. You're covering everything with one roof instead of two and having twice the maintenance. So I would lean towards having it under one roof, and then they would have their own floor, whatever floor we deem it to be. Thank you.
I guess my one question is about timing, obviously. If we ever get a resolution on what our school is going to look like, and whether our school board would want to be in the facility with us, I can see incorporating it. I'm not sure I'd want to go to a 4th floor, but that means at some point then you'd have to redesign this thing to accommodate the extra square footage in a larger footprint of the building, being a 3-story building as opposed to going to a 4th floor. I mean, I don't know where the point is when we get too far down the road where you can't do that anymore. So that's something I think we need to talk about when you come back to show us what you're looking at.
And we have talked all the way through with the design team about having an alternative to make sure we could incorporate the school division, but timing of that, I think that was some of our hesitancy of having it in one, but it can be in one. That square footage, I think, could be added. We're not to the point yet that you would have spent significant dollars that we couldn't spend some more and have that extra floor put in. Because the layout of the floors is meant to be similar. Most of the conference room, most of the walkways, most of the elevator shafts, the layout would be very similar across each floor.
So my comment is, it would seem to be more expensive to do a separate building. So which is more cost effective? With all due respect, I don't know where, if the school board doesn't want to come with us, I don't know where they're going to go, because eventually they're not going to have, something's going to happen at that James Blair site. If we stay together, they're going to expand that school at some point. They're going to lose that building. Or if we separate, we have to have a place for our admin. So I would want to know which is more cost effective to do. And if they're not interested in coming with us, well, I guess they'll have to find a place to build their own spot. I mean, we don't have a lot of choices. So I don't think that we go out and build something and then offer to build something else somewhere else. That doesn't seem very cost effective. So that would be that's my questions regarding that. But it also seems safer to be all together, but I don't know. So.
And, you know, when I first brought this forward to the board many, many years ago, part of the issue was, you know, watching with the fire service, how when we had dealt with emergencies, storms coming in and anything else, and how much traveling we were doing. And by the time you got back and explained to staff what was going on, the storm had changed and you're going back to another meeting and you got to come back and explain it. Where if we're under one building, you know, we have, okay, we're going to have an emergency meeting in this conference room at this time. You hit the elevator, go up or go down, and you meet. And I would think that would be an important component for the school system as well, regardless of what the decision is on the school system. It would be a good thing for the school system to be part of that. If a storm's coming in, they're going to be part of it. If they hit the elevator and come down, that's a lot better than having to drive across town and you know, then you get in the environment and how much fuel you're using and everything else and all those issues where, you know, one building with as many as possible in it to serve the community would be a smarter, in my opinion, a smarter move in the long run. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. You did a great job. We'll let Brad know.
I'll pass that on to Brad.
Okay. That brings us to severe weather preparedness, Chief Ash, and I want to thank you, Chief, for doing this. I just take weather very seriously, and in the summer, I was at the pool recently, and you know, often when it thunders, you get out of here, and what bothered me was I heard adults say, "Oh, shh, don't say anything," and I had a friend who was struck by lightning, so it's very personal to me, but also I just read a story about a young man that was on a beach and lightning came out of nowhere and struck, and with a very terrible outcome. So I was just hoping that you might be able to give us some information about how to best prepare for severe storms.
Sure. So thank you for having us this afternoon. I hope I've caught, or at least captured in the presentation, some questions that we often get from citizens, a little bit of background information, and hopefully capturing things that Ms. Larson wanted to make sure we touched on. So first, I wanted to start with the time to prepare for severe weather is not when the announcement comes out and the storm starts. It really should be a kind of an all-around process. And while we're specifically talking about thunderstorms, lightning, hurricanes, things today, certainly ice storms, winter weather, other types of things, this same information applies to. So if you've heard Sarah speak at any of public meetings or here, she kind of talks a lot about making a kit, making a plan and building a kit. And we're just going to touch base on a few of those things to make sure we have today. So number one is make a plan, right? We want to think through these things in advance. Hopefully take the time to write that down. What you see the image of there is through the Virginia Department of Emergency Management. They have an emergency preparedness plan sort of template. So as you fill out that information, if you've captured everything in the checklist and the template, by the time you're done with the 15 or so pages, and that includes a lot of pictures and things, so it's not that much information, but you should have had a chance to discuss everything with your family and really capture the information that's specifically important. So you want to make sure you're sitting down with your family and discussing hazards and threats that are unique to our area, and what are you gonna do in those situations? What are we gonna do in winter storms versus hurricane versus tornadoes or afternoon thunderstorm like we get a lot this time of year. With that is, the plan is great, but you got to communicate it. And it's not just with yourself, but it's also with some emergency contacts. So we encourage you to build a network, an emergency support network. These are friends, family, some here that are local and some that are out of state that you can make contact with. Let them know what you're going to do. In the event of a large or widespread that takes out power or takes out communications, whether that be for hours or days, making sure that someone knows what your plan was during an emergency is important, so they know where to go look for you or how to get in touch with you. So make sure those folks are people that you can stay in contact with to check on you. We've seen from the storms we've had here before, our sheltering population is not a lot before the storm, but days afterwards, when the power's been out for a few days, people start to show up at the shelter, whether that's just to get some recharge on their cell phones, take a shower, or get cooled off for a little bit. And in those situations, if you haven't been able to make contact with your family, they're going to be looking for you. So make sure you're staying in touch with those. And then if you have any unique medical needs or medical equipment, it's always great to have someone else who knows how to operate that, who might be able to talk you through on the phone. No, remember this is the setting you had to change or something like that. So make sure you capture that information and include it in your plan as well. Identify some meeting places. This could be outside of your home. So in the event a tree or something has damaged your home, where are you and your family going to meet? It's very similar to a fire escape plan. But also, what if you're outside of your neighborhood when the event occurs? Where is your family going? If you can't make contact with each other, what's a local meeting place, whether that's a community, an event place in your community, if that's a church, if that's a school, shopping center, make sure you have somewhere that you're going to meet your family and a pre-approved plan so you know where you're going. In the event of severe weather, where are you going to stay? So let's suppose you can't stay in your home. Where do you go? While we do have some sheltering opportunities, many people look to evacuate the area or maybe get a hotel space or go stay with family or friends. If you are looking for sheltering, our Department of Social Services is the lead for our sheltering following events here in the county. And we do offer those shelters for medical dependent, special needs, and also they are pet friendly. So if I know if my house, my family's not leaving without the dogs. So we do offer pet friendly sheltering opportunities as well. And transportation, how are you going to get there? If you can't, there are opportunities, again, through emergency management and social services to coordinate those on a list in advance that you may need transportation or may need assistance. Those are typically going to be for folks who are wheelchair bound or have difficulty moving around. But that may be a plan. You've got a neighbor or a friend that's going to take you somewhere, so make sure you've got all those things. You've thought through all this before the event happens. And then last, evacuation routes. In the event of some of the large storm that's heading our way and maybe a hurricane that you're going to evacuate Hampton Roads, what are the evacuation route? Where are you planning to go? The map that you see there is just some of the evacuation routes out of Hampton Roads. And we'll get to a slide later about know your zone and the evacuation flood areas that may be activated or evacuated during an event. So all of this information is also in that hurricane preparedness guide through the Virginia Department of Emergency Management. A lot of times we have those around. Emergency Management has some if you need any, or if you have a citizen that reach out to us, we can get those to them as well. Okay, so now you've discussed all that, you've made a plan, you really need to make sure you have a kit. Right, so the greatest plan doesn't do much good if you don't have any supplies to help you through that. You don't want to make that mad rush to go buy bread and water and things at the grocery store. Right, so we want to get these supplies in advance. There is opportunities during tax-free weeks, or tax-free weekends where you can buy storm preparedness equipment early and save the sales tax cost on that. But this is another screenshot out of that same guide that I've been talking about as you follow through that guide and build your plan. There's a checklist there for putting together your kit, and just a few of those items. Food and water, most information you read will talk about 3 days. We really encourage you to have 7 days. 3 is great, 7 is going to be a whole lot better. Most of us haven't experienced a disaster that is really on the level that we're trying to make you prepared for. So you may go, the last time Hurricane Isabel was no big deal. Well, Hurricane Isabel was actually a tropical storm when it passed over our area. Many of the other things we've had have been remnants of storms. If we're taking a hurricane or something, sort of a direct hit up the Chesapeake Bay, 3 days, probably not enough. We want to make sure that you're prepared for more. First aid kit, your prescription medications, those types of things, hygiene supplies. While you may go to a shelter, we have some basic needs, but there's always going to be things that are unique to you that it's best if you have bring with you. Extra clothing, blankets, sleeping bags, things like that, and emergency funds. Almost all employers now are doing direct deposits, electronic to banks. We're all using debit cards, and it's important in this. If widespread power outages, networks are down like they were over the last week, having some cash on hand, the ability to get some of your basic needs would be important to having that emergency kit as well. Make sure you've got all your important documents, whether those are medical or insurance, property records. Take some photos, the inside and outside of your home. Just sort of document your personal property that you have and the condition of your home before the storm. Make sure those photos, back in the day, those were probably Polaroids or photos you had printed. Now they may be something you have saved on the cloud somewhere that's accessible even after the storm. Infant formula diapers. Make sure you remember your pet-friendly items to take care of your pet. And then any special considerations. If you have a unique medical device or you have some unique need, they want to make sure, even if you're heading to the medical shelter, make sure that you're being prepared and bringing that and maybe a how to use it, that type of stuff with you to the shelter. And again, you can see from that document there, the checklist really helps you think through everything that you may think of, including in that plan and in your kit. Okay. Next step is make sure you're staying informed, right? So there's a lot of opportunities for that. James City County offers JCC Alert. The address there is jccalert.org. And you can see from that picture there, you can sign up for automatic notifications. Some of you may remember, I know Mr. McGlennon does, when we first went to this system, we had it defaulted to a lot of things like lightning alerts. And in the middle of the night when the lightning alert went off and woke most of James City County up. So we have set some of those parameters down where you can't, there is a nighttime hours that you can not be bothered during certain hours. And then there's some that are defaulted. Severe thunderstorm warnings, tornado warnings, things like that are defaulted. And if you go to that site, there's a lot of options. You can have as much information you want or as little as you want on there. So we want to make sure that that's a tool for you, but not a nuisance. Our social media accounts and our website during the storms. Ms. Dahlman's here today. She's great at posting updates and things on our website and sharing information on social media accounts. Of course, we've got local news and radio, National Weather Service, and there's plenty of mobile apps that kind of keep you up to date today. But hopefully everyone signs up for JCC Alert so they can stay connected with us. Okay. So proactive measures before the event, right? Keep our trees and shrubs well trimmed. The fire department is constantly going to, we have a severe thunderstorm come through, homes that are damaged by tree limbs, maybe large trees falling. A lot of times those are branches that were dead or hanging before, or they're trees that probably needed to come down prior to the storm. So it's good to make sure you're keeping that stuff on your property ready to go. Clearing out all your gutters, downspouts. What's a plan to secure all your furniture? Well, I know if you're like my house, got grill and outdoor furniture. If you have a boat, if you have something else in your yard, what's your plan to keep those things from blowing around your yard or flipping over and damaging your house or the neighbors? And it's a great time also to review your insurance coverage. For instance, flood insurance, homeowners insurance does not cover flood damage. So folks that you may not live in a floodplain area, so you think, well, flooding won't happen. There's been some storms like Hurricane Matthew in Virginia Beach where those areas were not within floodplain, but they had such a downpour of rain for such an extended period of time that neighborhood experienced a lot of flooding related to rainwater and was not covered by homeowners insurance policy. So if you do decide to sign up for flood insurance, there is a 30-day waiting period through the National Flood Insurance Program. So make sure you do that early. So again, prior to the event's a great time to get started with that. Okay, so severe thunderstorms. So a lot of times you'll see this graphic, you'll see a graphic map on the weather or shared on social media, and it's got a lot of colors on it. And they'll say, well, you're at slight or you're marginal or most people probably don't know what all those colors mean. So I thought I would include this just as an example of what those colors mean for risk for severe thunderstorms. So marginal or isolated severe thunderstorms are possible. It's going to be very limited duration or coverage. Slight is they're going to be short-lived, not widespread. They could be in isolated intense storms, but probably not widespread. We got enhanced. Those are going to be more persistent, widespread with some intensity. Moderate, so long-lived, widespread, and intense. And then high, long-lived, very widespread, and particularly intense. And this is a graphic that's easily available. If quick search on the web, you can find this graphic to help everyone remember what the colors you see on the weather maps actually stand for. The next is, so we often get a watch or a warning. So some folks wonder what's the difference between a watch and a warning. Really, thunderstorm watches are just that's possible, meaning the conditions, the National Weather Service is monitoring it, and they see some conditions that might happen to be a severe thunderstorm. They want you to kind of be prepared, so start thinking about, hey, well, how did I say I was going to secure my furniture, or what did I say I was going to do? Where am I going to be at 3 o'clock this afternoon? What's my plan if I need to get inside or something else? And then that warning means it's about to happen. It's either happening right now or it's getting ready to happen. I think we just heard some thunder right now, didn't we? So this is one of those where if you are outside and you get the severe thunderstorm warning, this is time to go inside, secure items you have. If you're in the pool, get out. And we'll talk a little bit more about what Parks and Rec does in pools in a minute. But the warning means it's happening now or certainly getting ready to happen in the very near future. So thunderstorms and lightning, and I think a lot of times we talk about hurricanes and we talk about flooding, we may talk about wind, but we don't often talk a lot about lightning. So when Ms. Larson asked to do this, I was thinking that was a good choice because again, we just don't talk about it that often. So during thunderstorms and lightning, what are the things you should do? Well, postpone your outdoor activities, get inside of a building or a hardtop vehicle. This is not the time to stand outside and stare at the storm. It's not the time to go, well, it's going to go around us and let's stay outside a little longer. And then start to secure those objects. Hopefully you made a plan for what those were, and you've started to secure them. We want to avoid things like natural lightning rods. So if you're a tall tree in an isolated area, don't go stand underneath of it. Hilltops, open fields, beach, if you're a boat on the water, holding up anything metal, whether that's golf clubs if you're out on the course, or a beach umbrella, things like that. We want to avoid things that become attractants for lightning. The graphic you'll see there, when the thunder roars, go indoors, stop all activities. That's a message from the National Weather Service. And you may see that posted at some outdoor venues. They've completed a lightning safety toolkit, and you can submit to the National Weather Service and actually have those posted at some outdoor events. And it's just a reminder to folks that are there that, as Ms. Larson said when we first got started, if you hear thunder and lightning, it's really time to get indoors, nothing to mess around with. So I briefly mentioned that the National Weather Service does offer lightning safety toolkits, and those are unique. So if folks who run venues here, beaches, pools, golf courses, any type of outdoor activities, these are available. That's an interactive form or one that you can print, and you develop a written plan for what you're going to do. You can submit that to National Weather Service, and you can get that recognition as being prepared. For instance, James City County Parks, when the pools close at the sound of thunder or the sight of lightning, and they remain closed for 30 minutes after the last sound of thunder or the sighting of lightning. And that's the recommendation, again, consistent with the National Weather Service best practices to really get indoors, get out of that environment. And if there's any specific questions about Parks and Rec pool, Parks and Rec staff is here as well today, can answer questions for you. Flooding, sometimes we talk about flooding during hurricanes where we think about storm surge, but we also may experience flooding just from large volumes of rain that we experience in the community. You probably recognize this street here in James City County that good rain creates that fairly regularly. And it's just important. We don't want to walk through moving water as little as 6 inches can damage a car, could stall it out, depending on the height of your vehicle. A foot of water can float many vehicles, and 2 feet of water can carry away most vehicles. So I think a lot of times folks say, oh, it's only up, halfway the tire, so I'm going to drive through it. I think that's great if you're in a vehicle that's made for that, but taking a chance, you also don't know how deep the water is, right? You're looking at that and you think you know, but it could be much deeper than you're expecting. So we want to, kind of the message there that's frequently used is turn around, don't drown. So if you really don't drive through water like that, go around. In this case, the street often has barricades up to block so that we prevent folks from driving through that area in the event of those storms. And another thing we frequently have is tornado watches or warnings. These are not unique just to severe thunderstorms. A lot of times they're from remnants of hurricanes that travel across our area. And so we want to make sure that we're seeking shelter. You want to be in a windowless room, try to get to the center of the room, use your arms to protect your head and your neck. Make sure you're covering your face, flying debris, and then remain inside your home until the storm has passed. Again, there's a graphic there about the difference between a tornado watch and a warning. Very similar to severe thunderstorms is their conditions are presenting where you may have a tornado, and then the other ones are either by radar or direct observation. They have seen a tornado, and you need to take action immediately. Dangerous situation. And again, all these things are preparedness steps. We want to make sure no matter what what the type of weather system coming is, but specifically this time of year, we talk about hurricane season. And as you know, it starts June 1st through November 30th. However, if you look at the graphic there, the peak of hurricane season really occurs about the middle of September, early to middle of September. It's where the peak. So even though it starts as early as June, certainly in this area, we start preparing then, but we really get concerned coming into the August, September, October timeframe. If you think of some of the storms that have impacted our area over the years, they've almost all been late August, September storms. That's why a lot of times the lettering of the storm that we get is typically lower in the alphabet because of that timing of when those storms develop specifically in our area. And then the other graphic there is an example of the Saffir-Simpson hurricane scale. You know, this graphic talks about Category 4 starting to have trees blown over, and I think that may be a good rule. However, I think you look at 130 to 156 mile an hour winds, we don't have that type of wind here regularly, and we certainly have trees blow down. So I think there's a lot of conditions about the condition of the tree. How much rain have we had? You know, there's been storms where we had much less wind, but we've had significant periods of rain before that, and those trees come down. Depends on the type of tree. So there's a lot of other factors. You want to make sure that you're not just waiting for 130 mile an hour wind to decide if a tree is going to come down. So we certainly have seen those much earlier than that. And also important to take a chance to look at Know Your Zone. So this is a project through the Virginia Department of Emergency Management. I guess probably 8 years ago now, started evacuation zones. It was really trying to be a tool to help folks based on the impacts of the storm. When do I need to evacuate versus I don't? And this is really evacuating from storm surge, flood waters. This is not evacuating from winds. We do want to hide from the wind. If you're in one of those homes that's surrounded by trees, or you're in a home that may not sustain tree damage as well, you may want to evacuate much sooner than any type of an evacuation order through one of these zones. But on the map of the county there, you'll see that Zone A, so that would be the first area evacuated, the lowest level, and that's basically Jamestown Island. Then you'll see the areas in sort of the darker yellow-orange color, that's Zone B, and then Zone C in the lighter color yellow. And we do not have any Zone Ds in James City County. But if you go to Know Your Zone for the Virginia Department of Emergency Management site, you can type in your address, and it'll pull up your evacuation zone or let you know if you're in one of those evacuation zone areas. So that way you know what to do prior to the storm. How we envision that working is the governor may issue an evacuation order and name off localities and list which zone we're evacuating. That would be a conversation that we would have through our administration and emergency management folks to, do we agree, do we disagree? So for instance, you may see they evacuate Zone A on the eastern shore and no evacuation for us. They may do Zone A, B, and C in the south side and maybe only A for us. And that's just based on how we believe those flood levels will affect our community differently than some of the others. The next section, I'm moving on to drowning prevention. So is there any questions or follow-up about the severe weather items before I move on? Or any questions for Parks and Rec?
No, but let me be clear, it was not a Parks and Rec pool that my prior thing I made.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think certainly though we encourage those other community pools to follow very similar rules to what our park staff does. So. Okay. So while not severe weather related, certainly something that we encounter here in the summertime. You know, our department responds to a few of these a year, unfortunately. We certainly always hope for a successful outcome, but there are times where that's just not the case. And responding to it afterwards is never going to be as helpful as really working on preventing this up front. So drowning specifically in children ages 1 through 4 is the leading cause of death. It's a top cause of unintentional death in older children, teenagers, adults. We see this out in the river. We see it in pools. We see it at vacation places. We see it in bathtubs. You know, folks, oh, it's only a few inches of water in the bathtub. I'll just walk away for a second. It's never a good idea, and it can happen very quickly. And as slide there mentions, it's also often a very quiet. So you would think someone's drowning, you would splash, make a lot of loud noise, get folks' attention, and that's usually not the case. A lot of times when we go to those calls, we learn that someone has gone under the water and they didn't even see them, they didn't even notice it. Through the National Drowning Prevention Alliance, they encourage a message of 5 layers of protection. So I'm just going to briefly go through those. And then you also see on the graphic there that really being outside of an arm's reach is too far. So we want to make sure if you're responsible for monitoring someone who is maybe not comfortable swimming or a young one, make sure you're within arm's reach so you can quickly grab them if they're in trouble. So the first of those layers are barriers and alarms. So these are for your pools, whether that be at your home or in a neighborhood, using four-sided fencing with self-closing, self-latching gates. There's pool safety covers, alarm systems to help prevent children and unauthorized adults entering the pool. So really making sure that no one's accidentally in the pool when they shouldn't be, and that there's someone always watching them, even in the pools without lifeguards. Supervision. So staying vigilant and aware of your surroundings with close and constant and capable adult supervision from a designated water watcher or lifeguard anytime children in or around the water. My wife jokes to me a lot that when we're at a pool, whether that's in the neighborhood or out vacationing, I'm constantly scanning the pool, and she always says, "You don't ever relax," and that's because I feel like I'm always looking. I always feel like I got to watch my children and other people's. Yeah, I think that's true for probably many of us, and certainly a good technique to make sure we're keeping folks protected. And water competency, really swim lessons, right? So every child and adult should be equipped with skills to protect themselves by learning and enhancing their basic water safety skills to reduce the risk of drowning or aquatic-related injuries. We talked earlier with Parks and Rec. They offer swim lessons through our Parks and Recs Department Aquatics. 757 Swim that we mentioned earlier offer swim lessons. Many of our neighborhood pools or other areas in the community also offer swim lessons. It's a great thing to take advantage of those opportunities if you have someone that isn't comfortable in the water. Life jackets. So when used appropriately, life jackets will protect you if you're not expecting to be in the water, especially around natural water, so lakes, rivers, ponds. Make sure they're tested and U.S. Coast Guard approved. And then finally, being prepared for an emergency, making sure that you know CPR, provide rescue breaths, and making sure that you know the address of where you are and you're ready to dial 911. It's great if you're at your own home, you know your address, but if you're at a neighbor's house or at a neighborhood pool or somewhere else in the community, make sure you know where the address you are so you can dial 911 quickly. And last, just any more information, again, highlighting a couple of those places that swim lessons are offered here in our area, and then the National Drowning Prevention Alliance has a lot of toolkits, a lot of social media messaging, checklists, tips, whether you're a family member or a provider of pools that can help keep everyone safe. So I'd be happy to answer any questions, and again, if you have something specific for Parks and Rec.
Very informative and useful.
Timely.
Timing was great.
Superb.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the great information.
Steve, is this posted any place up on the website?
It does not, but we can make that available.
Yeah, I think it would be useful to let people know that this is out there if they want to take a look at it.
Absolutely.
Mr. McGlenn, we can post it elsewhere. We certainly would have it as part of your agenda. So if you get them to this board meeting, it will be posted under his item there as well. It's not yet, but it will be.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You get a lot
Thanks.
of messages right now from probably the
Yeah.
alert system.
Yeah, I love that alert system, except boy, that phone number is persistent. If you don't answer and press 1. Yes, that's good point. All right, that brings us to board considerations. There are none. Board requests and directives. I do need a motion to amend the board's meeting calendar to add a meeting on Friday, July 26th at 1 p.m., where at least 3 board members will be touring the Norge Solar Farm with representatives from Dominion Energy. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Thank you.
Ms. Knoll?
Aye.
Mr. Hippel?
Aye.
Mr. McGlennon?
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower?
Aye.
Ms. Larson?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Board requests and directives.
I want to go to that thing Friday, so.
Yep.
And
Do you have
directives,
anything?
no, we just got back from the National Association of Counties convention in Tampa, and it was just really amazing what you learn and what they had there and so forth. But every day it was this at 4 o'clock. But I just say we learned a lot, and I learned a lot from meeting a lot of people from other counties that we have. We're very highly thought of here. Seriously, it's really amazing, and everybody has the same issues. It's just how big they are and how small they are, because we all talk about the same thing, and it's kind of interesting because you think somebody's going to come up with something different, and they don't. It's all about, agriculture, solar. I mean, things that everybody needs. So we're all in this together, which I thought was really great. And there were 2,800 people there. Ruth, I think.
Yeah, there were 3,069 counties and townships, other things represented there. Yeah.
And it's interesting to see, how they have their county government set up. Very, very interesting. A lot of townships, and some are supervisors, some are commissioners, some are somebody else, and so
Judges.
Yeah, it was very interesting. I'm so glad I went. I think I learned a lot.
You went.
Thank you.
A couple of quick things I wanted to just mention. First is that, as we actually made reference to earlier on, the HR TPO and HRPDC met last Thursday, and at the TPO meeting, it was a very interesting exercise, a little different from their normal meetings. We broke up into groups and talked about what we thought were issues that we needed to address in terms of transportation systems for the next by 2050, and talked about the desire to have better connection among transit systems and roadways to allow people greater access to the entire region. We talked about the challenges of airspace with drone deliveries and possibly air taxis and flying cars and all the rest that may be out there. But it was a useful process, and it's important for us to keep in mind that despite some suggestions that perhaps there would be a good idea to connect Surrey with James City County by bridge, that is not really something that has a lot of enthusiasm around here. And then in the afternoon, the HRPDC rather, did a similar kind of discussion group, but it was centered around young professionals and talking about the movement of young people out of Hampton Roads, the ways in which we can, the ways in which we can try to address that. And among the issues that were raised was simply the lack of a regional identity, that all the different efforts that we're seeing, nothing really seems to take hold. The question of affordable housing, actually, a number of people did note that housing affordability is always an issue, or housing availability. But several of the folks at our table, in fact, said that they thought that we were a relatively affordable area compared to many metropolitan areas, compared to, say, Atlanta, Washington, other places where that they might be thinking about. So those were very interesting discussions. I just wanted to mention that. I also had the opportunity last Saturday to attend the dedication of a new gate that was donated by Metal Masters, which is a local company located in McLaws Circle, of a ornamental gate for the Williamsburg Botanical Gardens at Freedom Park. That botanical garden is now just a terrific resource, and it's a beautiful, beautiful gate. They took the old gates, which were also beautiful but not very functional, and have placed them on the fence around the garden. Really, really looks great. Finally, just to mention the passing of Mark Galesian, who served as a member of the Williamsburg James City County School Board back in the 1980s and early 90s. I think Mark was a member of the faculty in the School of Education and brought a great deal of professionalism to the school board. Just wanted to acknowledge his passing and thank him for his service to the community and express condolences to his wife, Jean.
The only thing I would add is when they go from drones to cars flying, it'll make me really happy that I'm retired from the aviation business. Bad enough down on the roads, put them in the air and it'll be crazy.
Thank you.
Oh, and I did want to compliment Parks and Recreation. As a dedicated dog park user, they built that third facility out there, and they rotate so that the grass doesn't get chewed up too badly, and people really, really, really like it. And it's a great asset to have over in our Veterans Park.
Great, thank you so much. I would just say that NACO was a great experience, and Supervisor Null was right on target. You meet people from all over the country, and you exchange ideas and talk about the way that they're doing things. You have a chance to talk with vendors, go to workshops. It's a very busy 4 days, but it's a very great learning resource. So appreciate the opportunity to have gone, and appreciate that Assistant County Administrator Reinheimer went, and Sharon McCarthy, our CFO, as well. So thank you for that. Today's a birthday. So first, the birthday is Chris Williams, our video production administrator. So Chris, however, is not in the building, but it's also Supervisor McGlennon's birthday. So happy birthday to you. Hope you have a great day. He's a grandpa for this birthday, so it makes it doubly special. So now it is time for the reports of the county administrator. We should add that we are going to go into closed session after that. However, we do not want anyone to leave the building under dangerous circumstances, so please stay in the lobby. You do not have to clear the entire building, so.
All right, thank you, Ms. Larson. Members of the board, I do want to mention 2 items. One, our Good Neighbors Grant Program that our Clean County Commission oversees and offers is out. It provides $500 to enhance to neighborhood associations or community groups to enhance the sense of community and sustainability of our neighborhood. So if there are community groups out there interested in a grant, they do need to apply. The deadline is September 16th, and they can call 757-259-4080. Again, 757-259-4080 if they have more information. But September 16th is the deadline. And then Ms. Knoll and Ms. Larson, as they mentioned the NACO annual conference, I did want to share that James City County received a number of awards, and we continue to talk about our great staff and how they do for us locally. We believe they are some of the best, and a receipt of these awards and recognition of their efforts, I think, just really solidifies that we do compete well nationally, and you do have a good staff working for you in this community. We did receive awards in the information technology category, in the parks and recreation category, in the personal management, employment, and training category this year. So again, I just want to congratulate the departments and the staff that worked to put those particular programs together and for making those submissions, and just to say to the community, you really are well served by the staff that's here, and just want to congratulate them on those efforts. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Thank you, and
Yes, ma'am.
congratulations to everyone. So I need a motion to enter into closed session for the following items. Consideration of a personnel matter, the appointment of individuals to county boards and commissions pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia, Board of Adjustments and Appeals appointment, Economic Development Authority appointment, Wetlands Board, and Chesapeake Bay Board appointment. 2, discussion of the award of a public contract involving the expenditure of public funds, including interviews of bidders or officers, excuse me, I could not get that out, and discussion of the terms or scope of such contract, where discussion in an open session would adversely affect the bargaining position of negotiating strategy of the public body pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A29 and pertaining to the contract award for Settlers Market. Is there a motion? Thank you.
Moved.
Ms. Knoll?
Aye.
Mr. Hippel?
Aye.
Mr. McGlennon? Aye. Mr. Eisenhower?
Aye.
Ms. Larson?
Aye.
Motion carried.
With that, Okay, we are out of closed session. I need a certification of closed session.
Madam Chair, I move to certify that we only spoke about those items we indicated we would speak about going into closed session.
Thank you. Mr. Stevens?
Ms. Knoll?
Aye.
Mr. Hippel?
Aye.
Mr. McGlinnan?
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower? Ms. Larson?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I have, under board discussions, number 5, contract award, Settlers Market.
Okay, I will move the resolution for contract award, $2,743,975, Settlers Mill Market Road improvements.
Thank you. Mr. Stevens?
Ms. Knoll?
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower?
Aye.
Mr. Hippel?
Aye.
Mr. McGlinnan? Ms. Larson?
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Mr. Eisenhower, do you have some motion?
Yes, ma'am. We have appointments to the Board of Building Adjustments and Appeals. We have appointment of Jeremy Finley, Lee Aquino, and Ted Polk for terms that will begin immediately and expire on July 23rd, 2029. And for the Economic Development Authority, reappointment of Vincent Campana III to a new term that would begin on August 1st, 2024, and expire on July 31st, 2028.
Thank you. Mr. Stevens?
Ms. Knoll?
Aye.
Mr. Hippel?
Aye.
Mr. McGlinnan?
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower? Ms. Larson?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to adjourn until 1 p.m. on July 26, 2024 for the tour of the Norge Solar Farm.
So moved.
Okay, sorry. Stevens?
Ms. Knoll?
Aye.
Mr.
Aye.
Hippel? Mr. McGlinnan?
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower? Ms. Larson?
Aye.
Motion carries.